Okay, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time because between my time limit and my anxiety right now, I might be talking rather quickly. Good morning, CrossRoads. My name is Logsdon, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who in the past has struggled with self-harm, drugs and alcohol addiction, as well as nicotine addiction. I grew up in a household where our family relationships were not intimate. Some of my immediate family, as well as my extended family, have had their own internal battles and struggled with drugs and alcohol addictions. As children, we got to grow up seeing these hurts, habits, and hang-ups. We were very close. Sometimes it seemed like too close because it felt like we were trying to see how many family members we could fit in one home. I guess it didn't surprise me that some family traditions got passed down. Addiction initiated. Like I said before, we didn't really have an intimate family. My mom worked all the time to provide for her entire family, and when she was home, she wanted to rest. I cannot remember my dad ever working. I know that for the majority of my life, if not the entirety, he received VA benefits from serving in the Vietnam War, or he was on disability benefits from workplace injuries. My mom was not the addict or alcoholic, but I am not saying she didn't have her involvements in her younger life. My dad, on the other hand, carried those traits into his adulthood. So as you can see, Mom, not cool, I couldn't do whatever I wanted. Dad, cool, I could do whatever I want. You can see which relationship I favored, and for many reasons and unspoken reasons, they never got along. I'm going to fast forward to later in life because I want to touch on some of the factors that led to my pain, which led to my recovery. In late 2011 or 2012, I can't remember, we had all noticed my mom struggling more than she had. And she wasn't the one to show weakness, hence not that intimate type. I had never thought on the day that my mom insisted on going to the doctor that I would have my life changed forever. I remember being in the emergency room with her. She was trying to stay strong and keep good spirits. She was trying to explain to the doctor what was going on. My mother and I both caught on to the fact that he seemed to be showing more attention to the two female nurses in the room with him rather than listening to her. He had a very prideful and rude attitude. His words and tone, when he was telling my mother that he didn't know what she wanted him to do, stung and hit a nerve. My mother was humbly trying to express the best way she could about what was bothering her. She started crying. "Oh, no, you didn't. You're not going to treat my mother that way." My instincts kicked in immediately. He suggested an x-ray because we didn't know the target area of her problems. I had so many words for him, but I was going to refrain. My mother didn't need any more troubles. Results confirmed Results confirmed a mass on her lungs. I would like to say that wasn't anything but supportive and that I was there for her all that I could be. But no, I ran from her. I would like to say that I wasn't... I already read that part. I ran because I knew that I was going to lose her. She eventually denied further treatment, and I was at the appointment where I was informed that she signed her DNR. I couldn't forgive her for the longest time. She just gave up. Stage 3B lung cancer progressed into multiple brain tumors. We lost her a couple weeks before my birthday in March 2014. Sorry. My relationship with my dad wasn't as great as I made it seem to be. There were many things I kept from people. For instance, my dad favored me more than my younger brother, and in a way that my father should not live a child. I could not let this faze me because, hey, I could get whatever I wanted. It seemed almost immediately after my mom passing that my dad started to fall ill. He had prostate cancer, hepatitis, and recurring infections that led him to having his left knee amputated. At that time, it was me, my dad, and a couple of friends living together. I know that because he lost his leg and he felt he was no longer fully independent, he became angry. And who did he take that on? Yeah, you guessed it, me. Our living conditions were poor. We were both deep into alcohol and drug addiction, and among my dad's inappropriate behavior, it scared his nurse aides off. They no longer came to our home to bring him medical supplies and tend to his healing wounds. Caretaker initiated. I soon was responsible for taking him to his appointments, shopping, cooking, cleaning up his accidents, and then the most difficult task, helping him bathe. Here I am, the victim of verbal and sexual abuse, and I had to help the man that inflicted it. I couldn't get anyone to help, but he was my dad, and somehow, even through all my anger and pain I had towards him, I couldn't leave him in his pain alone. He often would taunt me in front of his and my friends. He would call me from the room as soon as I laid down to rest to have me come, hand him something that was right on the nightstand where he could clearly reach. Knowing that I would help him, he and our friends would laugh at me. Then one night, I was heading to bed. I was tired and angry. As soon as I lay down, he called out to me. We didn't have any guests that night, so I ignored him. He wasn't taunting me today. I needed rest. He'll be okay. I never knew that resting that night would lead to many sleepless nights. The following morning, my uncle was knocking at my bedroom door. I assumed he was drunk and just wanted to chat like he always does, but I was not in the mood for nonsense at that time. He said that he needed to talk to me, and I continued to try to shut the door to have him stop me. And that's when he pierced me with words that would haunt me for time to come. Tia, your dad is dead. Surely he is not. He's just sleeping, I said. There he laid, lifeless. He actually needed me that time. On to my next factor. 1 year later, the same month my dad passed, I was babysitting for my cousin one night so she could get out and have a girls' night. My cousin-in-law, who worked construction out on the road, came home that weekend. I remember it so vividly. I was sitting in the garage having a cigarette, taking a break from the kids. He came and sat next to me, quiet, and then he broke his silence. He pierced me with his next words, something that I had never heard him talk of ever in the whole time of me knowing him, by saying he was just in their room with a gun in his mouth. We spoke for a while, but he assured me that it wouldn't happen again. I would have never thought that moment would be the last time I seen him alive, because the next time I see him, I was looking at him in the casket. 1 week later, he took his life. The same way he assured me that I wouldn't have to be concerned with it. I know I didn't mention my little brother in any of these events, and that's because for all three of these people, my brother didn't get to say goodbye. He was away serving time in prison for almost 4 years. And in that 4 years, he lost his mom, dad, and his best friend. And I have carried the guilt of the feeling that I could have prevented at least 2 of them. The losses of my mother and father caused me to no longer have a place of security, which left me hopping couches for the time to come. Not to mention the entire time since their passing, and even before, I had many sleepovers with my sisters of Saline County. I ended up being invited to stay with a family friend who became a good friend to me. My addictions intensified because you also let me have whatever I wanted. Cycle on repeat. I could get high and drunk as often as I wanted, and I had my own space to let my other addictions bloom. My self-harm. I had always struggled with self-harm since I was in my teens, but it became an everyday task. And I say everyday task because it was a goal that I couldn't break, to harm myself in one way or another at least once a day. I was morbid and extremely sick. I didn't care who see me in that condition because I knew that no one would stop me for the fear that they didn't want to upset me more. I was so sick I kept nooses hidden above the ceiling tiles and underneath my pillow and under my bed. I also had the perfect disguise if I wished to hide it, because anyone that knows me knows that one of my best talents is special effects makeup. All it took was one episode of Face Off, and I was inspired to let my darkness and creativity flow. It didn't take much to hide my real wounds because they looked so much like my artwork. I often used my real wounds to teach me how to make fake wounds. I would call it my art of ouch. I do have to say that somehow that during this time I met Michael, my now husband. I wish I could say that I allowed him to help me get better, but I didn't. I pushed him away for several months. In December 2017, I guess I felt time was nearing an end because I acquired some pills. That night, while hanging out with my roommate, my friend, I had made a decision, and I don't know if he could see it in my eyes. I had no reason that I wanted to do what I did next except for the fact that it was just my routine. That night, I took many pills, but not enough. I woke up to my friend screaming my name, and I'm not going to lie, I've been in many drug raids, and I thought I was about to add another one to the list. How much easier that would have been. She informed me that they had found my friend dead in the same hotel that my cousin had taken his life in just a year prior. I had no idea what to do next except to continue taking the pills. I had some left over just in case. I don't know at what point I had indicated to someone that I had started taking more pills, but at some time I did, and my cousins had taken me to the hospital. I don't know when I awoke, but when I did, I woke up to my sister and her best friend sitting with me. I know that when I was still in the hospital, they were asking if I wanted to be put on medications to help, and if I wanted to seek further help. Of course not. I didn't want help. I just wanted out. Now, to my recovery. If it had not been for the drugs and paraphernalia that the nurses had found on me while changing me into my gown, I would have been released back into my chaotic world once the hospital visit was over. Instead, my recovery began in jail, where I picked up the Bible for the first time in my life with intent to listen. Something new was stirring within me. I started to become someone I had never seen myself before. I craved more. Upon my release, I attended CKF inpatient, where my excitement grew. My faith continued, and I was blessed with more tools to become healthier, and I found friends that I would have for life. I wish I could say that I was fully recovered, but then part of me was still holding on to the past and what was waiting for me at home. Thankfully, the Lord knew this because I didn't get to go straight home. My journey continued to a faith-based women's reintegration facility in Liberal, far from home, which was best because we weren't locked behind doors, and we could leave whenever we needed to go to work, meetings, and to go shopping for the things we needed. This freedom would have had the potential to throw me back in if I had been here in Salina. I wasn't ready yet. 3 months later, after graduating, the Lord had another safety net in place. I was placed on community corrections and was recommended to stay in Oxford to learn how to get back on my feet, all while holding me accountable for everything I did. During this time is when I remembered when a friend from years ago planted a seed. He didn't say much, but he did say the place was called Celebrate Recovery. It was held at a church that my cousin had recently invited me to. It didn't take but maybe 2 attendances for me to realize that this was the place I was meant to be. There was no need to shop around, I'm sold. Many great friendships and memories have been made, and the blessings just got sweeter. I still wasn't fully into my spiritual recovery, and again, the Lord knew. He knew that I needed more, and I needed to be more involved. Then my husband and I were asked to be a part of the Celebrate Recovery leadership team, and I remember asking myself, do they know who I am, and do they know what I've done? I'd like to tell you that I put all into this, but I didn't. I was still stuck in neutral, and I still hadn't done a step study. Guess what, though? The Lord always knows what we need, and it's all in His timing. A step study group soon opened up, and I knew it was time to put my name on that list. It was the most frightening but best decision I had made. I get to put the lessons that we learn about in CR into action, and I received some beautiful friendships too. I found a group of girls I could share myself with, and they weren't even going to run away from me. I have also had a very supportive sponsor who has been there for me anytime I needed it. She listened to me rant many times, but she also tried to point me in the right direction of what to do about my situations. Before I finish, I want to say that even with my involvement in CR, church, and step studies, I still fall short. I still struggled, and it's always because I tried to take back control and do it on my own without God and without others. I fell back into isolation and some depression. Hold on to Him, and hold on to fellowship, and remember to allow yourself some grace. Deuteronomy 29:29, the secret things belong to the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all of the words of this law. Thank you.